April 1945, Germany. In the yard of a liberated labor camp, hundreds of prisoners stood on frozen mud with sacks wrapped around their feet. Some had no soles left. Some had no toenails. One old man held his shoes in his hands because the leather had been cut apart. Inside a nearby storehouse, shelves that should have held captured German footwear were empty. Captain Lewis Crane, the American officer assigned to distribute supplies, had traded the best shoes to local civilians for eggs, liquor, and silver watches. They were not Army property, he said. Then General George S. Patton arrived, looked at the prisoners' feet, and ordered Crane to start counting. Before we get into what happened next, if you want more untold stories from World War II, hit that subscribe button. The camp sat behind a ruined brick factory. Its wire fence sagged. Its guard towers were empty. The prisoners inside had been freed only 2 days earlier, but freedom had not yet become comfort. They still moved like men expecting a blow. They still lowered their eyes when a uniform passed. Most were forced laborers from Poland, France, Belgium, and Russia. They had built rail parts, hauled stone, and buried the dead during air raids. When the Germans abandoned the camp, they took food, medicine, blankets, and nearly every decent pair of shoes. The Americans found a storehouse outside the factory yard filled with German boots, civilian shoes, and wooden clogs collected from nearby depots. It was not much, but it was enough to keep men from walking barefoot over broken glass and frost. Lieutenant Anna Keller, a translator with the medical team, made the first list. Men with bleeding feet first, then fever cases, then the elderly. One prisoner on her list was Tomasz Wierzbicki, a former schoolteacher from Krakow. He was 61 and weighed less than a boy. His feet were swollen from infection, and his left heel had split open. He did not ask for food when Keller spoke to him. He pointed to the ground and whispered, "Shoes." Captain Crane took the list from her. Crane had been assigned to temporary supply control. He was smooth, clean, and always busy when witnesses appeared. He spoke often about order, but he liked anything that could be converted into favors. By the next morning, half the footwear was gone. Keller confronted him at the storehouse. "Where are the boots?" "Distributed." "To whom?" "Useful contacts." "These were for the prisoners." Crane smiled thinly. "They are liberated persons, not American troops. They cannot walk. Then they should stay in camp." Keller stared at him. "The hospital is 3 miles away." Crane closed the ledger. "I will not waste good footwear on people who may die before reaching it." The sentence made the interpreter beside her flinch. That afternoon, prisoners were moved toward the aid trucks. The mud was sharp with broken brick. Tomasz tried to walk using strips of blanket tied around his feet. After 20 yards, he fell. When Keller knelt beside him, blood had soaked through the cloth. At the factory gate, a local woman passed carrying a basket of eggs. On her feet were nearly new German boots with American chalk marks still on the heels. Keller understood. She reported it to a major. The major wanted proof. Before she could get it, Patton's convoy entered the camp road. He had come to inspect conditions after hearing that liberated prisoners were still being kept inside the fence because transport was slow. He stepped from the jeep and saw the prisoners first. Not their faces, their feet. A line of men stood in mud wearing rags, paper, or nothing. One prisoner had both arms around another just to stay upright. Tomasz sat on a crate with his heel wrapped in bloodied cloth. Patton walked to him. "Why has this man no shoes?" Keller answered, "He was on the first issue list, sir." "Where is the issue?" She looked toward the storehouse. Crane hurried over and saluted. "General, supply is being organized." Patton did not return the salute. "Open the storehouse." Crane hesitated. "Sir, the inventory is incomplete." "Then we will complete it." The doors opened. The shelves were almost bare. A few broken clogs lay in a corner. On a table sat eggs, bottles, cigars, and 3 watches wrapped in cloth. Patton picked up one watch. "Did this walk here?" Crane swallowed. "Local exchange, sir. Improvised procurement. With prisoners' shoes. They were captured civilian goods." Patton turned toward the yard. "Their feet captured them first." Crane tried another defense. "General, I intended to obtain food for the camp." Keller stepped forward. "The kitchen received none of it." Patton looked at the eggs, the bottles, the watches. Then he looked at Crane. "You sold mercy and bought comfort." Crane's face reddened. "Sir, that is unfair." Patton pointed outside. "Unfair is an old man bleeding through a sack while his shoes buy your breakfast." No one spoke. Then Patton gave the order. "Find every pair." MPs went through the nearby houses with Keller and a camp representative. Civilians were told the shoes had been stolen from liberated prisoners and would be returned. Some protested. Some cried. Some handed them over quickly. By dusk, boots, clogs, and shoes were piled in the yard. Patton made Crane stand beside the pile. "You will count bare feet first." Crane blinked. "Sir?" "Every prisoner without shoes. Every infected foot. Every man you decided was not worth leather. Count them aloud to the medical officer." The counting took longer than Crane expected. 100. 200. 300. He had to look down each time. Swollen toes, cut heels, black nails, bandages made from shirts. Tomasz was number 47 on the urgent list. When Crane looked away, Patton said, "The feet, Captain, not the sky." After the count, Crane distributed the recovered shoes under Keller's direction. The best boots went to the worst medical cases. Tomasz received a pair too large for him, so Keller stuffed cloth into the toes and tied the laces herself. He stood, shook once, and remained upright. Patton then ordered Crane's private field chest opened. Inside were 2 more watches, a silver cigarette case, a bottle of cognac, and a pair of polished boots marked with German depot chalk. Crane was relieved on the spot. The MPs took him away before dark. The report charged him with misappropriating captured supplies, denying aid to liberated persons, and trading essential goods for personal benefit. He tried to claim confusion, but the lists, witnesses, and chalk marks told the truth. The camp changed that night. Footwear distribution required a medical witness, a prisoner representative, and a written record. No captured clothing could be traded until liberated persons were supplied. The rule was simple because the crime had been simple. Tomasz reached the hospital. He kept both feet, though one heel never healed cleanly. Months later, he wrote Keller a note in careful English. It said only, "I walked out because someone counted." Keller kept that note until the war ended. Patton moved on with the army, but the prisoners remembered the yard, not because a general shouted, not because a captain was arrested. They remembered the moment someone looked down and decided bare feet were not a minor problem. The story was not only about shoes, it was about the first small piece of dignity returned after captivity. Crane saw old boots as barter. Patton saw the distance between a prison yard and a hospital, and understood that freedom means little when a man cannot take the first step. Was Patton right to make Captain Crane count every bare foot before removing him? Or should he have sent him straight to the MPs without that lesson? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more untold stories from World War II.